Most of us grew up believing that buying a house meant freedom. Your land, your driveway, your front door. But for millions of homeowners, that freedom comes with a private rule book. One that can tell you what color to paint your house, where to park your truck, how tall your grass can be, and in some cases, help put a lien on the home you thought you owned. Today, more than 77 million Americans live in community associations. And in some fast-growing regions, buying a newer home without one feels less like house hunting and more like searching for Bigfoot with granite countertops. So how did a country obsessed with private property create private neighborhood governments? And why do cities, developers, lawyers, management companies, and even some homeowners keep defending the system? The answer is hiding behind the white picket fence. To be fair, HOAs aren't always the villains. At their best, they solve a real problem. In condos or subdivisions with shared pools, roofs, roads, stormwater ponds, or playgrounds, someone has to maintain them. You can't have everyone saying, "I only own my part." HOAs collect dues, handle upkeep, and keep the neighborhood from falling apart. Sometimes that order feels nice. Clean streets, nice landscaping, higher property values. But then, the rulebook gets thicker. Suddenly, it's not just about shared spaces. It's about how long your grass can grow, what color your curtains can be, whether your truck can sit in your own driveway, or how long your Christmas lights stay up. The official excuse is usually simple. We are keeping the neighborhood nice. That sounds harmless, responsible even. But in American housing, nice has never been just about appearances. And that is where the history gets uncomfortable. American suburbs weren't built just with wood, concrete, and mortgages. They were built with rules. In many 20th century suburbs, private deed restrictions were used to control who could buy into certain neighborhoods. Banks and government-backed maps also labeled many Black and immigrant communities as risky investments, making mortgages harder to get and wealth harder to build. Later, real estate agents used blockbusting, scaring white homeowners into selling cheaply by warning that Black families were moving in, then reselling those homes to Black buyers at inflated prices. Different tools, same goal: control who gets to live where. Eventually, the country changed. Courts struck down the most blatant racial covenants. The Fair Housing Act made open discrimination illegal. But the private contract system did not disappear. It evolved. The language shifted from race to community standards. From "you can't live here" to "you probably can't afford to stay here unless you follow every single rule." Green lawns, perfect paint colors, monthly dues, architectural approval committees, special assessments that can hit you with thousands of dollars overnight. If you're wealthy, have time, and can hire people to maintain everything, this system feels fair. But if you're a working family, a single parent, a retiree on fixed income, or someone who just got slammed with medical bills, a brown lawn or a broken fence can quickly turn into a financial nightmare. That is the part people miss. Modern HOAs usually do not need ugly language to exclude people. The rulebook can do it quietly, through cost, pressure, and enforcement. And once you understand that, the next question is not just who built this system, it is who keeps it alive. HOAs aren't spreading by accident. They spread because almost every powerful player in housing has a reason to like them. Start with local governments. For cities, HOA developments are basically a financial cheat code. New homes bring in more property tax revenue. But normally, growth also means more costs. Roads, drainage, landscaping, trash service, and residents calling City Hall because someone's yard looks like a raccoon opened a landscaping business, that is expensive. So cities found a workaround. They just approve the project and let the HOA handle it. Homeowners can end up paying twice: full property taxes to the city and HOA dues for infrastructure and services inside their own neighborhood. It's like ordering steak for yourself and making the next table pay for the sides. Developers love it even more. Using planned unit developments, they get permission to build denser, sell more homes on the same land, and make higher profits. While the neighborhood is still under construction, they often control the HOA board, turning the first buyers into unpaid actors in a real estate commercial. Everything must look perfect. Trimmed lawns, hidden trash, nothing weird on the curb. Then, the last house sells, the developer disappears, and the residents inherit the cracked roads, aging pools, and rising repair costs. When the reserve fund runs low, surprise special assessment. Everyone owes thousands. And don't forget the HOA industry itself. Management companies, lawyers, landscapers, insurers, they all make steady money from monthly dues, violation fines, and endless maintenance contracts. An HOA isn't just a neighborhood group, it's a small economy. To be fair, some homeowners do benefit. A well-run HOA can keep amenities nice, prevent neglect, and maintain property values. Some people actually like the order and predictability. But the real bargain is this. Cities reduce their burden, developers lock in profits, service providers get recurring revenue. And homeowners trade freedom for rules that can become very expensive and very powerful very quickly. Because once the city and developer are gone, the real power gets handed to your neighbors, every Thursday night at the community meeting. After the city collects its taxes and the developer cashes out, the HOA gets handed over to the residents. And that's when neighborhood politics turns weird. Most normal people don't have time to show up at Thursday night meetings arguing about whether a fence is too visually aggressive. Busy parents, people working double shifts, younger homeowners, they're usually absent. So who actually shows up? The people who do have time. Often retired folks, wealthier neighbors, or those obsessed with order. Give the wrong person a rule book, a clipboard, and the power to find their neighbors. And suddenly, you've got a suburban hall monitor with legal backup. This is where protecting property values turns into a kind of neighborhood religion. One brown lawn, one visible truck, one wrong shade of beige, and they act like the whole block is going to collapse. That fear becomes the fuel. Homeowners end up accepting rules they secretly hate because they're terrified their biggest investment will lose value. And that's exactly how the system protects itself, by turning regular neighbors into enforcers. But the real shocker comes next. For many buyers, they don't realize until it's too late. HOA power isn't just social pressure, it can become legal and financial power. Fall behind on dues or special assessments, and the HOA can place a lien on your house. In many states, under the right conditions, that lien can eventually lead to foreclosure, even if you're current on your mortgage. Think about that for a second. You pay the bank on time every month, but your neighbor Gary, who owns a laminator and hates visible trash cans, could potentially help force your home into sale. A rule becomes a fine. A fine becomes late fees. Late fees become legal bills. And unpaid assessments can become a lien that threatens the house itself. That's a terrifying amount of power for a private group run by volunteers. So now we can finally answer the real question. How do you protect yourself in a world where HOAs are everywhere? If you are buying a home and do not want an HOA, make it simple from day one. Tell your realtor, no HOA properties. They exist, especially in older neighborhoods, rural areas, or homes built before the 1990s. You might have to look harder, but it's worth it. If you're already considering an HOA home, don't treat the documents like some software update you just click agree on. Read the CC and Rs carefully. Check the reserve fund status, and ask exactly what the HOA is responsible for: private roads, stormwater systems, pools, or retaining walls. Look at the history of special assessments and how often dues have increased, because a cheap HOA with no reserves isn't a bargain. It's a future expensive surprise wearing a nice welcome sign. And if you're already stuck in an HOA, don't just accept it. These are mini governments, and they only get weird when good people stay quiet. Talk to your neighbors, show up to meetings, organize, run for the board, push to reduce unnecessary fines, demand better transparency, and build proper reserve funds. Remember, the board only has power because most residents hand it over by not showing up. So no, an HOA is not just about grass. It is about the deal hidden inside modern homeownership. You get clean streets, shared amenities, and a neighborhood that looks predictable. But in exchange, you may give up control over your own property, pay another monthly bill, and accept that a private board can fine you, sue you, or even place a lien on your home. For some people, that trade-off is worth it. For others, it sounds insane. So I'm curious, are you the kind of homeowner who would trade some freedom for order, convenience, and protected home values? Or would you say no to any HOA, no matter how nice the pool looks? Drop your take in the comments, and if you have an HOA story, I definitely want to hear it.